I dropped out of university on a Tuesday. No big fight, no dramatic goodbye. Just an email sent at 2:13 a.m. and a strange calm afterward. I had been studying something I didn't care about, for a future I didn't believe in. Every day felt like waiting in traffic with the engine running, burning fuel but going nowhere. So I sold almost everything I owned: my laptop, my books, my watch. And with the last of my savings, I bought a used car, nothing special. An older European sedan, manual transmission, scratches on the doors. But the engine sounded healthy, steady, honest. I didn't have a plan beyond one thing: drive, no destination, no deadline, just roads. I left the city before sunrise. Streetlights flickered as I passed them, one by one, like checkpoints I'd never return to. The GPS stayed off. I wanted to feel the road, not follow instructions. The first hours were perfect. Highways opened up. The engine settled into a rhythm. Fields rolled past the windows. I crossed my first border without even noticing. Just a new language on the road signs, a different color on the license plates around me. By noon, I felt lighter than I had in years. It felt like escape. In southern Germany, I stopped at a roadside cafe. Old building, wooden tables, a parking lot full of trucks. Inside, I met a retired truck driver who asked where I was going. "Don't know yet," I said. He smiled, not surprised. "Best kind of trip," he replied. Another man warned me about driving at night in unfamiliar regions. "Some roads," he said, lowering his voice, "aren't meant to be taken more than once." I laughed it off, paid my bill, got back in the car. At the time, it sounded like superstition. That night, I crossed into Austria. The mountains came fast, the road narrowed, trees leaned inward, blocking the sky. My headlights carved a tunnel through the darkness. Radio stations faded in and out. Music turned to static, then silence. I didn't mind. Driving at night does something to your thoughts. Time stretches, memories surface, the engine becomes a companion. That's when I noticed the first anomaly. A road sign appeared ahead, white letters, black background. It read, "No through road." But the road continued, perfectly paved, fresh markings. I hesitated, then drove on. 20 minutes later, I saw the same sign again, marked by the same scratches, the same bent corner, and the same reflection in my headlights. I slowed down and checked the GPS, but it was still offline. I tried to tell myself it was a coincidence. Rural roads loop all the time. But when it happened a third time, the quiet pressure in my chest turned from confusion into a cold realization. I pulled over to a forest that was unnervingly silent. There was no wind, no insects, and no distant engines. When I climbed back into the car, the clock still read 2:17 a.m., exactly as it had before. A few kilometers later, my headlights caught a tall, still man standing on the shoulder. As I passed, he turned his head slowly with an expression so vacant it felt unnatural. In the rearview mirror, he didn't move or wave. He just watched the car disappear. Yet, a minute later, he appeared again, standing ahead in the exact same posture. This time, I didn't stop. I accelerated. The mountains flattened out suddenly with no transition, as if the world had simply reset. The road became wide, fresh, and devoid of cracks, yet there were no signs, no exits, and no markings except for a single center line. My dashboard flickered, and the fuel gauge remained frozen despite hours of driving. I rolled the window down to find the air smelled metallic and cold, realizing then that I hadn't seen another car since the cafe. Eventually, headlights reflected off the glass of a gas station. I pulled in with a surge of relief to find a building that was brightly lit but entirely empty. The shelves were stocked with fresh sandwiches and snacks, yet there was no cashier, no cameras, and no exit signs. When I stepped back outside, my car was still there, but the road behind it had vanished into total darkness. I sat in the driver's seat for a long time while the engine idled smoothly. The clock remained at 2:17 a.m. Ahead of me, one road stretched into the distance without signs or markings. I thought about turning around and remembered the truck driver's warning about roads not meant to be taken twice. Finally, I put the car in gear and drove forward. Light appeared gradually, not a sunrise, but a flat brightness, as the road ended at a small village. Everything looked normal. However, my phone had no service, and the date was wrong. It showed the day I had dropped out 2 months earlier. I've been here for 3 days now. Everyone insists I've always lived here, greeting me by name and recognizing my car, but no one remembers a road leading out. At night, I hear an engine idling outside my window, and I can't tell if it's asking me to leave or reminding me that I already did.